Hello, this is Tammy with Autistic Wiki, and this is three, day three of 30 Days of Autism. So today we are doing 6 degrees of autism. So this is kind of what I think of as everybody knows somebody who's autistic, but they don't always realize it. You know what I mean? So when I first got diagnosed, the numbers were something like I think it was 1 in 78 people were known to have autism. And then within the last year or so, or a couple few, it got down to something like 1 in 50 something. And I remember thinking back when I got diagnosed that the 1 in 78 didn't feel right to me. That number just didn't ring true. And I was thinking that once it got down into the 50s, then it would probably be better, like low 50s. And then I just went to check the CDC website before recording this, and they have a number of communities that they're monitoring because looking to see like how much autism is really out there, and they got down to 1 in 44. So that is lower than what I thought it was going to be. But if we sit and think for every, let's just call it 50 just to round up and make it easy. If every 1 in 50 people are autistic and you know more than 50 people, then you know somebody who's autistic, right? Or if you just look at your little, your group of people is you have the people in your immediate family, and then imagine all of their like their mate or their significant other. You can get to 50 pretty quick where you're going to find somebody in your immediate circle who has autism, whether you might not realize that they have autism, but you're going to get pretty quick to finding somebody that has autism. Most of us, I think, probably work in a company or work somewhere where there's more than 50 people who work there. So there's a good probability that you work with someone who has autism. If you work with the public in any way, shape, or form, talking to customers, whether it's over the telephone or in person, you're definitely talking to a lot of people who have autism because we are out here and we go to stores and we consume products same as everyone else. So you're definitely interacting with people who have autism. And then just think of going online, of the thousands of people that you've met online and interacted with. Definitely a lot of them have somewhere you're going to find a lot of them who have autism. So I think it's one of those things where it's significantly more prevalent than people realize. And I think a lot of people have just been interacting with autistic people their whole life, and they just really never thought about it. And that might be because autism doesn't have one prevailing sign that makes it obvious that we're autistic, right? There's no physical characteristics that make it obvious that we're autistic. And then our symptoms can vary wildly from person to person and from situation to situation. So, the issues that I have are I have a lot of communication, obviously, because otherwise I wouldn't have got diagnosed. But speaking to people, I have a lot of problems speaking to people in many different ways. Some of it is social anxiety. Some of it is just understanding the way, quote unquote, normal people talk, like what they really mean compared to what it sounds like they're saying. Because they do have a different way of communicating that is, it can be really confusing sometimes to understand what they're going on about. So I would say the vast majority of people, if I just think of all the jobs I've had over my life, the vast majority of people who I've ever worked with, I would say, dare I say, in the 90s, 95, 98% of those people did not know that I was autistic. Now, they knew that I was different, but they didn't know that what was different about me had a diagnostic name to it, So they knew that I got quiet and shy around new people. They knew that I would have a hard time kind of explaining what I'm trying to say. Like I'll start to explain something and then I get frustrated. And I just forget it. Doesn't matter. They know that they probably would notice that I get angry easily in certain situations, and that would be if there's too many people around or too many people talking or something like that. Then I get worked up really easy. And since people don't know what's going on inside me, they just see the outer expression of that and they just think that I get angry easily. They think I'm quick to anger. It's not so much that I'm quick to anger, it's just that those experiences of sensory overload often appear to be anger. So I think the vast majority of people who have worked with me over the years had no clue I was autistic. They just knew that there was something different about me. The few times that I do tell people, they just don't believe me. They don't believe me at all. They're like, no. Well, part of it is because if you tell someone you're autistic, they almost want to make you feel better by saying you're not really autistic. You know what I mean? Where they mean well, but it's not coming out well. So like if I tell somebody I'm autistic, they'll be like, no, you're not. You're just a little quirky. That's all. Well, you need more than quirkiness to get diagnosed. You have to be able to display significant impairments in multiple areas in order to get diagnosed. So it's not just quirkiness. I'm definitely a little quirky, but it's more than that. And they mean well, so I try not to get bothered by it too much, but sometimes it gets a little frustrating. It does a little bit. And I think maybe that's where sometimes I feel almost obligated that I should come out and be more open about my autism so that people can see that they have been interacting with autism all along and they had no idea. But I often feel like people like me kind of have an obligation to be out there so that I think it just makes it easier for all of us. When I was a little kid, I had a lot of challenges, obviously, and I didn't speak a lot. I had a lot of language delay. And they took me to a psychologist, and this was in the early and mid 70s. And they didn't really know, at least in my area, or the doctors I went to, they really didn't know what autism was. So they really didn't know what was wrong with me. And they just told my parents she's probably just a little retarded. Maybe she'll grow out of it. And obviously, you don't grow out of mental retardation. So they knew that I didn't actually have mental retardation, but they didn't know what it was. They didn't know what was going on with me because they just didn't have the words back then to describe it. But so I mean, it would have been kind of nice growing up if we did have the words back then, so that I could have looked to other people and known that there are, not that I'm the weirdo, that it's just I'm different, and there's other people like me who are different too, and it's okay. It would have been really nice to have that growing up, and that's why I kind of feel obligated to be out there more, so that I can be that person for somebody else. They can look to, just to be able to see that other people have it too. And it's not a death sentence. It's not the end of your life. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's challenging, no doubt about it, but it's not horrible at all. Horrible, but I mean, some days are horrible for everybody. So it's not something that you can just fit into a soundbite. That's for sure. Autism does not fit into a soundbite. But yeah, that's I've been thinking that maybe that's my goal for this year, and in trying to start Autistic Wiki, the website and the channel again, is maybe in doing so I can make an attempt to be more open about it. I've always been very much in the closet with my autism from the time that I was diagnosed. And it's kind of hard to start an entire website about something if you're in the closet. But yeah, so degrees of autism, I do believe that everybody out there has a friend or a coworker who is autistic, and maybe they just don't realize it. And maybe we can work to being a little bit more open so that people know that we're here, and maybe that is what we really need for autism awareness, is just to be more open so that people can see us.